your site, your church. If you have 20 to 30 people, we'd be happy to train, bring various trainings to your site. And Tim and Jennifer, our training director, are here. There are local trainers and outreach trainers and workers who can all be happy to share with you some more information at the end. But you'll all be receiving a follow-up email on how to get involved. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Next, I would like for you to take some time at your tables, introduce yourself to each other, and then interact with each other on this question. How can a person of Christian of faith or of good faith express their concerns to public and or private organizational leadership in a way that is full of love and grace? Go ahead. Hello. One more thing I forgot to mention. There is a sign-up sheet on your table, so please, as you're talking, write down your name and get your information there so we can send you information. Thank you.
that starts to kind of really look into the things that we were going through in the time, and take it seriously. Um, Try to evaluate. I think lyrically, evaluate the things that we have. What's important about what we do? Is it how good we are, as musicians or players or singers, and or is it us being available to that? Do we really own this stuff? And I think when we first started this out, we just loved to do it and loved each other and loved the experience, and I think there's a incredible freedom in that. And when you start thinking you're good at it is when you start losing it. And I think that was something with Difference Maker, that we sort of asked that question to ourselves and started realizing that we had gotten a little carried away, a little controlling of the thing that was happening to us, and we wanted to get back to that innocence.
Short falls and living sin, close calls when no one wins. Stand tall, run and bend,
Morning, everybody. We're going to move into our program right now, and I want to introduce myself. My name's Brad Hahn, and I was formerly a city council member here in Modesto, and you'll probably wonder what happens to, former politicians. Why I went back and reintroduced myself to my wife, and, and now we're having a great time. So, but one of the things that God gave me a passion for was neighborhoods, and through a lot of circumstances, Jim Holgersson, the city manager, came to Modesto in an interim situation, and he stayed because he saw what could happen here in Modesto. I think that's a fair statement, that he saw, because he's at an age and stage in his life where he doesn't need this job, but he really sees an opportunity. And Jim and I become very good friends because it's a passion to really transform our community. Because if you think about it, the neighborhood is really the base of community. When you go out and you help your neighbor fix something in their yard, or you do something, an invalid that needs help or whatever, it's the true community that we've lost in America. And so Jim is here, and his job before he leaves is to transform our community and make it into a wonderful place. And so with that, I mean, I'm not trying to put any pressure on him, but Jim Holgersson's a city manager of City of Modesto. Come on, Jim.
Thanks, Brad. Oh, wow. Thank you all for coming here. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Does this all go down? Let's see. There it is. Okay. I'm a little taller than that. So, good morning. So now, if you're Swedish like I am, and my parents came over here from Sweden, you say, "Good morgon." Doesn't that sound? And of course, if you're from Japan, it's "Ohayo gozaimasu," or Hispanic, right? "Buenos dias." But so many wonderful ways to say good morning, and it is indeed a great morning. Every day is. I think all of us get up feeling really good. There's a gentleman that comes to City Council named Ray. He's passionate about trees. I don't know if any of you have seen him come to our council meeting. So Ray and I have had a few lunches together talking about life. He had a remarkable career with the city of Modesto. He's 94 years old. I don't know if you've seen him. You wouldn't guess that, but Ray is full of vim and vigor. I was asking him how he's doing. He says, "I feel good every morning that I get up and I can open my eyes and I can see the sun." So he certainly is appreciating life. So I am the city manager of Modesto. I am so pleased and tickled to be the city manager of Modesto. It is the 95th largest city in America. How many people knew that? I think there's a lot of folks that might be surprised by that statistic. I Googled it and discovered that. Isn't Google marvelous? We get so smart now because we can just peek down at our iPhone. So I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. There's another phrase that we all get used to, that's good enough for government work. Remember that phrase? Now, we think about that negatively, but the real history of that is it's from England in the 18th century, and actually in those days, government did the best quality work, so it really was a measure of doing good work, not like we tend to interpret as meaning it's less quality. So just wanted to share that tidbit with you, because we all know we're in a world where there's a lot of information and a lot of anecdotal stuff, and you know what? Not everything is true. So I am, as I said, the luckiest guy in the world as far as I'm concerned. As Brad said, I'm at a point in my life where I really thought I had retired. I came to Modesto in an interim gig, and I thought, wow, this is going to be fun. I could do these interim gigs and just go and still get the flavor and the whole fire and excitement of managing cities and working with people. But I fell in love with Modesto. And in fact, I came to one of the first Catalyst meetings was May or June, I believe, and met many of you and have been coming to this meeting. I think I've only missed maybe one or two, but the energy in Modesto is absolutely amazing. I know today I was asked to give my view of Modesto, but actually I'm more interested in your view of Modesto. Mine is just one person's view. My own background to get some understanding of who I am. I've managed in 7 cities over 40 years. I started when I was 3. And 5 different states. If I had to do over again, I would do it over again. Amazing, wonderful, wonderful opportunity. I'm a 60s kid. I know it's hard to visualize that. But I grew up in a day and age when we said we were going to land on the moon, when we were going to have a war on poverty, when we were going to build the best education system in the world. Our forefathers came back from World War II, and mothers, and they said, we need to make this country great, and they invested, and they invested, and they invested. So I'm a can-do person. I'm an eternal optimist, and the most valuable resource that we have in any community is our people, whether it's in the organization or outside the organization. But my own career began, I grew up in Illinois. Actually lived in Sweden for 6 months when my mom and dad decided they wanted to go back to live in Sweden. We lasted 6 months. Sweden's a wonderful country, but we missed America. And then my first city management job was in a city called Davenport, Iowa on the Mississippi River. Many of you probably know where that's at, the Quad Cities. It was, in springtime, it was in the river, in the Mississippi. I mean, we talk about flooding here. Flooding on the Mississippi is a little different experience. I remember as a high school kid sandbagging high walls trying to keep the river water out. The city challenge in those days, by the way, was separating storm from sanitary sewer. Both storm and sanitary were in the main lines. And in Davenport, there were catfish in our main lines along the river. That means there were that big of holes in the pipes. But it's kind of funny now because then we went through all this separation after all these years, and now today, again, they're talking about, gee, we probably ought to capture some of that rainwater and stuff and treat it. So we're now in the process of thinking about maybe we should combine our storm and sanitary sewer. But I think that the point of that is it's all about things come in cycles and changes. So after Davenport, Iowa, my first city manager job was in Germantown, Tennessee, next to Memphis. I was 29 years old. Fire chief came into my office to meet me. He was probably in his 50s. He looked very old to me. And he looked at me and he said, boy, I got socks as old as you. Anyway, we became friends. And the police chief, too, who also had done, he was from Memphis. He was at the same age, and he had been a homicide chief there. He confirmed for me that Elvis is dead. And he also had the very interesting job of investigating the Martin Luther King slaying, too. So he was a fascinating man to sit and listen to as he told stories about his work in Memphis. Then I got that call. They said, hey, have you ever thought about coming to Kalamazoo, Michigan? And the Michigan thing, it's over here on this side of the state. And I went up there, interviewed, got lucky, got the job, and so I was city manager in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And that, of course, was more of a Rust Belt city in those days. And the GM plant had just closed, and we were busy doing a lot of economic development, a lot of neighborhooding, because kids weren't being successful in school, so we were partnering with the schools and all the nonprofits. And in that community, they had a wonderful thing that I know we're working on here too with the Stanislaus Foundation. They had the Kalamazoo Foundation. Today, it's about $250 million in terms of resources. It has created a grant program where every high school kid bound for college can get a grant and no cost to go to the local colleges there in Kalamazoo. Took them a number of years to do that, and I know we've got initiatives going on here, but those are the kind of opportunities that present themselves. But a very philanthropic community. We, in fact, wanted to build a children's museum. The community raised $20 million in 6 months to, in fact, do a children's museum. So lots of opportunity when we all work together. After Kalamazoo, I got that phone call saying, hey, what do you think about Waco, Texas? And I thought, where's that? And so I went down, interviewed, got lucky, got the job, And my first day there was the Davidian event. Fascinating experience when the ATF and FBI take over your city. Waco is a city of about 100,000 people, pretty much in the center of Texas. Actually, the Chisholm Trail goes right through Waco. But we spent the first 3 or 4 months dealing with, how about that for an image challenge? So that was very interesting and something that you really don't want to go through again. But I also learned, too, how people can have different views of things. As you recall, there was even a point where they were trying to paint David Koresh as a good guy. And there was nothing good about David Koresh, unfortunately. Then along the way, I met a man named Bernard Rappaport. And Bernard, Jewish culture, as you know, the Jewish culture is very much into giving and to being civic-minded, very important in terms of their culture. He had created a foundation for kids and families. And he and I were working together a lot because Waco was in the top 10 of something you don't want to be in the top 10, child poverty. So we were working very hard with the nonprofits in the community and neighborhooding again to help kids and families succeed, especially in some of our very stressed neighborhoods. And Bernard was always there. He also had a great calling card. He was one of the first major donors to Bill Clinton. So we could go to Washington, D.C. and visit with whatever department and usually bring back some assets for Waco to help in the mission. But along the way, he said, Jim, why don't you come and run my foundation? And so I left city management and began to run his foundation and work with him and roam the schools and work more closely with nonprofits, was on the other side of the table, worked with the city. It was a great, wonderful, wonderful experience. You know, our schools are amazing places. I know I'm sure there's teachers in here and superintendents and principals, but if you haven't walked in a school, you know, since you were a kid, that is, it's a great experience to see the wonderful work that people are doing there and the great challenges that they have. But it helped me get a better understanding, really, of some of those challenges. Did that for 2 years, but the bug got me, and I said, I got to go back into the profession. I just love being in city management, and I had an opportunity to go to San Jose, California as deputy city manager for neighborhoods. And I got lucky, interviewed, got lucky and got the job, and had a wonderful experience in terms of developing neighborhoods and helping neighborhoods organize, helping neighborhoods expand, helping neighborhoods connect to resources, et cetera. Wonderful, wonderful time. But I was just a lowly deputy. And so I got this opportunity to go to Arlington, Texas as city manager. And there I had the joy and fun of working with Mr. Jones and helping build the Cowboy Stadium. And we also had some of the joy in terms of visitor destination kind of things of one year having the Super Bowl and the World Series and the NBA playoffs. So it was a very exciting time. The challenges of the economy did strike that area too, so we went through a lot of the budget angst that Modesto has gone through. Not quite as severe as Modesto, of course. And then I decided at that point that I was going to retire. I went into consulting and now connect to the beginning. This wonderful interim job here in Modesto and this wonderful opportunity to be with you here in Modesto. So my reflections on Modesto real quick. It is an asset-rich community. It really is. It may not be, you know, $1 million homes like Palo Alto, but it's lots of wonderful neighborhoods, lots of wonderful housing opportunities. I am now a resident. I bought a house. It's a beautiful house. Though my wife tells me that we're going to have to change a few things, there's all this, it's an 1987 house, so it's got all this ceramic tile everywhere. I mean, every room has it. So we're in the process now of the bidding process to find the right contractor to help us remove that. And every room has wallpaper. And you know, wallpaper, I mean, everyone has their own taste. So when you go into someone else's house and look at wallpaper, so we're busy now, of course. Our goal is to paint everything and then, of course, redo some of the tops in the cabinets and flooring. And so hopefully in a month, I'll actually be living there instead of in that beautiful building that's over here called the hotel, the DoubleTree, which has been wonderful too. They now give me, I get the same room all the time now. I've been there for 8 months. So the other strength that we have is the diversity. I just look in this room at all the diversity, the different characteristics, our different traits, our different cultures, our different races. It's a wonderful opportunity that we are, in fact, a very diverse community. The strong work ethic here and the resiliency of Modestans is absolutely amazing. I mean, I've said this before, but people here, it's not just a matter of joining an organization, being part of an organization, and saying, gee, yeah, I want to help. It is actually people to get out there and get it done. And that's really one of the things that I know Brad and I and Marvin, we want to work with everyone to help us connect better so that we can, in fact, even get even stronger in terms of our community and our neighborhoods. Strong set of values here. People know who they are. People are comfortable within themselves. And it's really, since I'm from the Midwest, it's a very Midwest kind of flavor. It's even got a little Southwest in it, as we know, with the Dust Bowl and those things. That's when a lot of people came here. So in a lot of ways, it's the other California. Now, it's very dissimilar from the LA area, and of course from Silicon Valley in a lot of ways. So it's a very unique, wonderful area to live. And people are downright neighborly. I got to tell you, the first hour I was at my new house, 6 neighbors had already come up and introduced themselves and offered to help. I've never had that experience before. It usually takes months before you get to meet your neighbor. Amazing, amazing experience, amazing place. So, yeah, we have challenges. And actually, we hear more about our challenges than we do talk about our assets and the wonderful things in Modesto. Water, obviously, but you know, the good news, as the mayor says, is Modesto is blessed with a very good water table. And unless this drought continues for another 10 years, we should be fine in terms of water here in the Modesto area and, of course, our partner MID. In addition to water, jobs, obviously, 10% unemployment is not acceptable. That's something we got to continue to work on, and I think on your agenda, isn't David White coming here either next month or the month after? And I'm sure he has a bunch of wonderful ideas on how we can work together to create jobs and partner with our business community. And another challenge that I think we have is our aging infrastructure. It's still drivable, but it needs help. The city's infrastructure in terms of buildings need help. And we're working to figure out how we start to tackle that in terms of that infrastructure. Crime, could have put that first. We have big challenges. Our police department is an amazing bunch of women and men. If you compare our workload to any community in America, you will be startled by the load that our officers are carrying in terms of Part 1 crimes. And of course, we've had a challenge in terms of losing officers. We think we've righted the ship on that, and we're not losing officers, as many officers as we were a bit back. And we're working hard to start to refill positions. But Modesto is about, if we filled all of our 209 positions, and currently we have about 187 filled, we would be 1 officer per 1,000. The average in California is 1.5 officers per 1,000. So we've got some challenges there. And of course, fighting crime, we'll talk about that later, is more than just policing. Our youth, when they get to be 20-something, 30-something, they leave us. So that one of our challenges is how do we create more things for our youth to enjoy? How do we, in fact, help build a stronger higher education opportunity for our kids so that they stay here in Modesto and invest in Modesto and raise their kids here in Modesto, which could get me off on a tangent talking about my grandkids. I have 3 and 1 on the way. And then, of course, there's the anti-growth sentiment, and I don't know how you all sit and look at that, but as someone who just left Texas, it's hard to imagine how you can tie yourself up in so many knots in terms of seeking economic development opportunity and jobs. But the latest effort, the idea of putting a wall around one particular city seems kind of interesting, especially if you're a new guy. But you know what? Whatever happens, we're gonna make it work either way, because we're gonna continue to grow Modesto and grow the opportunities here in Modesto. And the other thing that I think is more problematic and challenging for us, but we can fix it, and that is just how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about Modesto. And I hear it almost every day, and I want to sort of shake somebody and say, this is a wonderful community. But a lot of times, you know, you tell folks, because they want to complain about everybody else that in fact doesn't have a good image or sense about Modesto, you really want to go and ask them, why don't you go look in the mirror, because I've listened to you and you're saying the same things that that person was saying. So we need to, I really would encourage us all, because we really are blessed, to think less about the negatives. We can work on those things. We can work on the challenges, and more about what a great community we live in and what great people we live with. We are truly blessed, and we need to continue to focus on that and tell the good stories about Modesto. So, really, when I look at assets too, we're agricultural base, fantastic, things to build on. A manufacturing base, the Beard Industrial Park, I think the impact of that is $4.1 billion on the economy. It may not be in Modesto, but there's a lot of people that live in Modesto that work there. Stanislaus Foods, one of our great manufacturers in the city. Of course, Gallo and the international. If you live at the hotel, by the way, there's so many different languages spoken in our hotel at the Doubletree, coming through there each and every day. And what an opportunity to help those people visit our restaurants and visit our businesses when they're here. And there's some things we can do, I think, to help us with that. The cost of living here. Wow, you know, I bought a place in San Jose, California. I went shopping here for a house. Woo! What a wonderful asset that is. And the cost of living just in general. And as we know, there are quite a few people driving every day over the hill to Silicon Valley, but they're living here in Modesto. Another great opportunity for us in terms of selling our wonderful city in Stanislaus County. Regional shopping here. We visited, I got the 5-minute sign. I better go faster. Regional Shopping Center. It's wonderful. It's a great asset. The whole issue of our major transportation center. We got great location, 80 miles from the greatest job generator in the world, 40 miles from some of the most beautiful places. It's a great place to be in terms of attracting people, attracting business, and creating a great quality of life. So since Marvin gave me the hook on that piece, let me move more quickly, because I really want to get into, so where is the city headed? That was one of the questions here. And I'm just one member of the city. But I can tell you that really the stage is getting pretty well set for us focusing strategically on major issues and focusing our resources on those major issues. Last Tuesday, the council pretty much firmed up its strategic plan. So I'll share with you our vision, our strategic plan that will be coming forward, and you'll be hearing more about that. But the major emphasis, and this won't surprise anybody here, safe and great neighborhoods, healthy economy and a great quality of life, vibrant infrastructure and sustainable environment, effective, responsive, and transparent government are the major themes. And of course, the strategies under each of those for us to work on together. And that's the main piece. Let me see, did the graph show up here yet? Because, no, what happened there? That's interesting. Actually, it's supposed to be. That's fascinating. Technology is amazing. It's supposed to be circles all the way around the center circle, actually. So I'm not sure either what my staff sent or what happened on the computer. So in fact, it looks more like this. Can you see that? So anyway, you know, Stan Risen was here. I don't know if Stan made it, but Stan was here about 3 or 4 months ago. There he is. And Stan said something that I think is not necessarily profound, but is the absolute truth. Government is not the answer. And that's why we're here today. And that's why we need to start working harder together. We can't service, local governments can't service our way to success in terms of all these challenges by itself. It needs everyone working together. So we really need to continue to focus on collaboration, networking, sharing with each other, partnership, and those are that's much harder. I can tell you, a local government, Stan and I could provide services and be done. We might not achieve what we need to achieve, but we can provide services. So the real answer here is how we're going to work together through strategies to collaboratively achieve the kind of Modesto and Stanislaus County that we would like to have. You know, how many minutes do I have? 2. Okay. So let me just skip. I was going to talk a little bit about collaboration, and let me just go straight to a couple of things that I want you all to consider joining us on. Of course, the Connecting for Good on April 9th, I really want to encourage all of us to participate in that. That is really for helping us learn more about how to collaborate more effectively, how to work together more effectively, how we can leverage our resources more effectively. It's on April 9th. You know, it's led by our wonderful Stanislaus Foundation. Join us on that. Stan and the county have been leading the way on the whole issue of prevention. There again, it's going to be about working together, identifying our assets, collaborating, partnering. It's on October 1st, right, Stan? The first focus, homelessness. We want to work for about 6 months. We don't have any preconceived notions. We want everyone that touches and feels and provides resources and programs for homeless to get together, to strategize, and to figure out what the best solutions are for helping the homeless connect to opportunities and get them off the streets. We have 3 other topics, I think youth and family and recidivism. I said that right this time, yeah. Wow. And then coming soon to a neighborhood near you, working with the Neighborhood Inc. gang, Marvin's gang, we really want to initiate what we're going to call Great Neighbors Building Great Neighborhoods. And the real mission there is, in fact, helping those that want to organize, helping existing neighborhood associations and neighborhood watches to help, in fact, if they'd like to do more than the neighborhood watch. It's about helping connect to leveraging resources and connecting to resources, because as Brad said, our neighborhoods are the foundation of our community, and we need to be working together toward those kind of goals. All the chart disappeared, but the goals of this community in terms of helping our kids succeed, the whole issue of safe neighborhoods, great neighborhoods, the whole issue of jobs, all of those are going to require the whole community to work together. So before I get pulled, let me leave you with a final sort of quote from, actually, he's a minister, Charles Swindoll. How many have heard his little thing about attitude? Great. So for those that haven't, I'm going to read it to you. This is so important in life and so important for us in terms of succeeding. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think, say, or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding our attitude and the attitude that we embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play the one string that we each have. That is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are all in charge of our attitudes. So I welcome you to, in fact, march forward and join us at making Modesto a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are some questions on your table, and the slide, not questions on your table, slides should come on up with 3 questions. I'm going to let you take 5 minutes. I apologize for that, so we get you out of here on time. But what I'd like you to do is on your sign-up sheets on the back side, if one could write some answers down, pick one of the questions, and then go ahead and talk about it. You can decide which question you want to answer. What I ask you is that you just make your point Don't go into teaching. Don't go into a 3-minute spiel. Okay? Gotcha? See you in about 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
I know how it started. The walls that we built to separate us, they get wider and stronger till it's too tall for us to touch. Heaviness is on me, I don't see it. We might be whole again. We might be better off in the wake of a bitter end. Oh, I know I'm on the rise again. Set my sights on where I'm going, and my goodbyes are where I've been. Oh, I know I'm gonna rise again, singing farewell, king of the broken. So long, my friend. We could always count on the same things, the ups and the downs like time. And we crawled through the abyss, then we came through the other side. Heaviness is only temporary. The daylight will soon break in. The sunlight can change your heart in the wake of a bitter end. Oh, I know, yeah, I'm gonna rise again. Set my sights on where I'm going, and my goodbyes are where I've been. Oh, I know, yeah, I'm gonna rise again, singing farewell, king of the broken. So long, my friend. Oh, I can see us moving on. I can feel that coming on strong. We'll never start all over like this, and I still can't believe it. Oh, I can see us moving on. I can feel that coming on strong. We'll never start all over like this, and I still can't believe it. Oh, I can see us moving on. I can feel that coming on strong. We'll never start all over like this, and I still can't believe it. Oh, I can see us moving on. I can feel that coming on strong. We'll never start all over like this, and I still can't believe it. Oh, I know. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I want to, first of all, I need to take responsibility for the messed up slide. And I was just telling him, Lori, his assistant sent the right one. I'm confident. I'll need to go back and see what happened, but I take responsibility for that. So I need to rescue Lori. There's resources in the back table, and we piled some things on there for you if you want. Next month's Catalyst, I'd like you to, if we could, bring up Brad Hahn, Modesto High class of 71. 72. Okay, I was 74. I was sitting in the back. You know, I thought he was 1971. This was anybody from Modesto High 1971? Their theme song, this wasn't Brad's in, is Booze, Sex, Love, Fun. We're the class of 71. So that wasn't you. Okay. And they won very few sports events, so they would do this. You know, when the chant, you know.
That was his year, the losing. Yeah. Can you sit down? No. You're not supposed to. What are we doing next month? We're going to have a panel on some of the folks that are working on this neighboring thing. And I'll just tell you one tidbit. I'm the president. I make them call me El Presidente because they said, do you want to do this? I said, yeah, I'll do it if you call me that. So, and Modesto neighborhoods. And it's the one thing I say at every meeting, this is really fun because we don't know what we're doing. We're trying to figure it out. We're meeting with Jim Holgersson, everybody to try and figure out what we're doing here. So if you like order and things to be in a box, you're going to be really frustrated. So what we're doing, there's a movement that's happening. And the theme through Jim Holgersson's whole talk was neighboring, wasn't it? That's the basis of what we're going to be doing. And so next month we're going to have a panel and we're going to talk about that. And you can come and you might get a little on you. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. El Presidente. By the way, I've asked the city manager, wherever Jim went, where'd you go? There you are. Hey, he'll be there to answer any questions. And by the way, too, before I ask Sandy Gunderson, come on up, Sandy. Just welcome him into the city. Thank him for being here. If you've got a question, just kind of hold back a little bit. Let everybody bless him because this is an incredible city, and we love it here. I've asked Sandy Gunderson to come on up. You know, we've been concerned, a handful of us, for quite some time about the development of our young women and women in professions and their leadership development, inspiring them, connecting with them. We could never seem to get traction on it. And then a couple of weeks ago, Sandy and Chrissy Moss came over to me, and I want to let them tell you her dream, just real quick, of what's happening with the women in professions. Is that how you want to call it?
Sure. So I had a little speech and everything. Marvin said I had to speak from the heart. And that's a little hard for me this morning because women's issues are very close to my heart. I get really choked up because I see women, especially in the workplace, trying to attain a level of superwoman. And with that label that they place on themselves comes guilt, comes frustration, comes a sense of hopelessness, and ultimately feeling like I'm alone. And there really, and I'm seeing women all over going like this, there really is, from what I found, and I've looked, there really is no support system here in Modesto for women in business. You know, you have your MOPS groups, you have all these different groups that meet in the daytime, but if you're a woman who is in business, you've got lunch, and that's it. You know, most of us go home and have to cook and bathe and put kids to bed, and you don't have time until 9 o'clock at night. And so this was really close to my heart. I shared with my friend Chrissy Moss, and we started saying, what if we get women together to be able to just meet for lunch? And it kind of grew into this movement, if you will, and I'm hoping it becomes a movement, because as I've been sharing this vision with other women, I keep hearing things like, I just want a place where I can share and not get answers necessarily, but know that I'm not alone. Have those aha, me too moments, and where you just get to share. And so we've kind of come up with a concept, and our first luncheon is going to be April 16th, and we've called it Inspire. And what it is, it's specifically for women in business who would like to come, and there's 4 specific really focuses that we're trying to have come out of this luncheon. The first is that we're intentional. We recognize busy schedules, so let's be intentional when we're there. Relational, a meeting where business women come together to begin cultivating purposeful relationships. And motivating, we'll have special speakers speak just specifically on real practical topics for 15 minutes and then have a discussion afterwards. And really, one of the main focuses is that it's going to be refreshing. A time where when you leave, you say, I got to do that. It wasn't something I had to do. Time for me. And so this really is our heart, that we can start motivating women to recognize that in a 1 hour period of time, we really can build purposeful relationships and hopefully feel that we're not alone in this life, that there's hope.
So first date is when?
April 16th.
Great. And I've asked Sandy to stand at the back at the resource events table with her and Chrissy. And if you want to sign up, ladies, or you know somebody who might want to be a part, they'll be back there to answer any kind of questions. There are specific self-interest catalysts that are developing all over the city. John Alvarado's right in the middle of the Recovery Modesto with Scott Miller and some others, Tom Ciccarelli. So there's some things that are popping up all over the place. It's been exciting. I'm going to leave you with this last one thing. We're going to put the slide up of Nehemiah model. For those of us who honor the Bible, Nehemiah had a strategy to heal a city. And it takes all of us, as the city manager has said to us. It takes government, as some of you are in government that are here. My friend Cecil Russell was somewhere. I don't know if Cecil left the Chamber of Commerce, or some of you that are, lots of you who are in business that are here. It takes all of us, and then, of course, nonprofit faith leaders. But the last circle is what I want to encourage you with, trusting relationships. That keeps it all together. And we keep telling each other, in Modesto, it's all about trusting relationships. And that keeps it together. So we want to encourage you as I leave. I want to encourage you and challenge you again. Have coffee with each other. Find people who are different than you and just sit down and say, help me understand who you are. Tell me about yourself. Tell me your story. Get to know each other. Because we can all talk about government, private sector, the public, the nonprofits, faith-based leaders, but unless we all have together a trust relationship together where we can stay at the table to not just live with our differences, but figure out how to use them, because somehow we've allowed our differences, those edges in our differences, to bring division. And we've got to figure out together, the three sectors, how to make this city great. Right now, we are talking about Modesto, City of Great Neighbors. In many minds, it's a cliche, but together we're going to make it a reality. Bless you. You got to have a good morning.